Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm sorry. I'm so still getting used to the Zoom because usually like used to like my professors being the host, so like and my coaches. So I'm like trying to like figure out how to like. I was waiting for you to join, and I was like figuring out how to do this, and I found like a minute to it button.
Excellent. I know I hadn't used Zoom as much as well, and then over the last, month, I've been using it almost every day,
Yeah,
except for and so yeah, I've gotten used to all the little kinks now, and I'm like, oh yeah, if you want to change your background, you can do that.
yeah, and then it's like it's crazy what's going on with the technology because it's like the biggest trending right now. So
It
I'm
is.
trying to figure it out too.
It's
But
crazy. It's so
yeah.
crazy.
I just want to first thank you for agreeing to do this with me. A little background: my name is Hadassah, but everyone on social media and school and everyone calls me Das. So I'm probably going to go by Das for a while.
Yes.
I'm a senior and I go to school in West Virginia.
Mhm.
And also, I since COVID-19 started, so I came back to New Jersey, my home state.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm about to graduate in a couple weeks. So like, I'm trying to like put everything together.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's like so chaotic right now and crazy. So like a little background, I do PR. I'm a PR major and a communication major. So
Yes.
don't know what I'm going to do right now. I used to work in a PR advertising company. So like we talked to a lot of influencers. So I knew a little background how to connect with people. And then I worked in like kind of like traveling in sales. So I try to figure out what I want to kind of do and passionate about. And I'm also like a video media person too. So
Excellent.
I'm like all over. So I'm like still trying to figure out what I want to
Multifaceted.
do. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then this past semester in September, the fall semester, I actually studied abroad overseas. So I lived in Salzburg, Austria for 4 months.
Nice. How would you like it? I love
I
Austria.
loved Austria. It's so beautiful. Even like going to all the different places. Like I went to Linz and Innsbruck and Vienna, and then you got to go like outside and stuff. So like, I love the train, like the Ubit trains and stuff.
Oh, the
That
trains
was
is so
always my favorite because you can just go and see the mountains and everything, and it never snowed when we were there, so we're lucked out.
really.
It
Oh,
never snowed because we were there for like 4 months and
mhm.
got right back, it just never snowed. It snowed, but it didn't stay. So it cleared, like, later, so it was, like felt like West Virginia back home,
Yeah.
but we got to see the snow in the mountains, that was the great things.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Definitely a good thing.
Alright.
Nice.
So, I didn't know if you got the questions
I
as
did.
well?
I
So
did.
I'm just going to talk about the objective for this interview is basically we're going to be discussing your world traveling experience as a Black traveler. We're also going to talk about your social media influencing your creative content, your purpose. I mean, not purpose, but your perspective in traveling and thoughts after COVID-19 lifts up about traveling.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. The first thing is, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Yolanda Shed Osagiede. I. What else? What other information do you need for the intro?
Just like talk about the question will be what made you want to start traveling?
Okay, great. So my name is Eulanda Shed Osagiede. I began traveling as a child, actually. My parents were in the military and they actually have a very interesting travel love story themselves, which definitely ties in to me. And they actually met in Germany, in Frankfurt, Germany. They were stationed on base there. And they were teenagers and they developed a love of travel themselves and got kind of disconnected. Years later, they were reconnected, uh, hence me. And
Yeah.
soon after that, I remember I began losing my teeth as a child. I was 6 or 7 years old, and maybe 5 or 6, I can't remember. But I remember that we grew up in a family that didn't really have a lot of money, and so my parents, in terms of like traveling places, we weren't going anywhere then really outside of just taking a few road trips and stuff every year to see family in the South because I was living at that time in Denver, Colorado.
Mhm.
And when I was losing my teeth, instead of putting, American money underneath my pillows, what my parents did was kind of reach into their vaults and pull out foreign currency. So started, for every tooth I lost, I would receive a few different coins from different countries, places they'd lived, places they visited. and I had amassed this yellow, not yellow, purple pouch, and it was a Crown Royale pouch. I remember that,
Wow.
and it was full of coins from around the world. And I promised myself that I was going to visit every single country represented, in that little pouch. And that I kind of forgot that goal over the years. But what happened was that I just, almost subconsciously, I started pouring into world cultures. Like every time I had to write a research paper, especially moving into high school and then even college, it was always on a different country somewhere in the world or something about world cultures. It didn't matter the class. I was addicted to studying about history and civilizations and especially like ethnology and it's just so many different things. So I remember I ended up studying abroad when I was 21. This is 20 years ago now. Uh, and I remember sitting at this cafe in Paris, and it was near Notre Dame. And I remember that pouch of coins. And during that time, I can't remember if the euro was around. It may have still been French francs, but I just thought, you know what? I'm actually living my greatest dream, which was to visit every single country in that pouch. And I had, at that point in time, I think I'd marked off about 3 of the countries in the pouch. And, from there, my wanderlust just continued to grow, over the years. And I had the opportunity to move back to, or excuse me, let's say, move to the UK, back to the UK, because I had studied abroad in the UK when I was 21. But I had the opportunity to move back and do my master's, and that is now almost 10 years ago. And yeah, from there, travel has just now become an integral part of my life.
Wow. I can definitely relate. So I'm 21. I actually turned 22 on Saturday. It's my birthday, but thank
Birthday.
you. So being a 21-year-old, I always question myself because I never rushed my age, and just traveling and seeing the world was very crazy, and it's not a lot of 21-year-olds and get to do this. So it's
It's
amazing.
incredible.
And it
It's
definitely changed me because before with my family, I was so alone, when I went to go study abroad versus with my family back home. I usually traveled with my mother, and we were in Central America to other parts of North America and a little Caribbean island. So it was a very big spectrum going across the world. So yeah.
That's so fun.
Next question would be, what encouraged you to start blogging?
My father and then my relationship with my husband. So soon after we got married, my father said, Yolanda, are you guys going to write a book or something? I was like, not, oh, sorry.
You're good.
Sorry about that. My screen went it moved the entire Zoom call. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
here we go.
Great. So sorry. What was I saying? Oh, so my father had said, are you guys gonna write? You should write a book. You guys love to, create world food culture type of recipes, and you love traveling together. And I said, we're not ready for that quite yet, Dad. And he said, well, then why don't you, maybe start a blog? And I was like, do you know anything about blogging? This is this is, I think he was probably in his 50s at the time. I was like, do you know anything about blogging? And he's like, well, no, but I think you guys should look it up and try it. I said, okay. So yeah, we started a blog together, and I think it was over a conversation at our favorite Afro-Latin restaurant in London. And we were sitting there, this is December 2014, and we're sitting there, we're just coming up with all these different ideas, and things just started to come together when we started to think about the visual identity of the blog, because I've been a photographer since I was a teenager, and I've really been into graphic design and just visual elements coming together. So for me, it was it had to have a really strong visual identity. And for Omo, he's such an incredible wordsmith. So coming together and bringing all those kind of background experiences together led to us coming up with this whole idea of dipping our toes into the spice of life, and dipping our toes into the flavor of the world and into new things before you jump in. So, and it was just something we like to encourage our audience to do. Like, you don't have to go and just jump head in with utter abandonment. You can
Yeah.
actually look, enjoy, dip your toes in, test out the waters, and then get in the water. So yeah, that's pretty much how the blog started.
It's amazing. The next thing is, what led you to become a social media influencer?
You know what? When we started, so the term social media influencer was not a thing. It was 2015 when we launched the blog, March 2015. And so social media influencing was, I'm not going to say it was unheard of,
Yeah.
but it was not a popular term. It was not anything on the radar. People were not getting paid to do this. Were people getting paid to create content? Yes, but a very small percentage of people. And those people are actually getting paid. Sometimes they're getting paid, really generous amounts. But what has happened over the years, especially as we move into 2017, going into 2018, is there was a major shift as marketers, companies, and brands realized the power of those content creators that actually had an audience, and they can tap into their audience. So honestly, it wasn't a goal of
Yeah.
ours. We never even actually considered ourselves influencers. We had such a small audience. Our entire audience footprint is about 35,000, something like that, across all of our different platforms, I think. And that has been amassed over 5 years. There's so many other bigger uh, creators that have amassed that amount in a year, or less, and you still continue to see them grow. But for us, it was about the way, I feel like, I think when we finally started owning the fact that we had influence was probably in 2017. We launched a retreat, like these entrepreneur retreats,
Hmm.
creative entrepreneur retreats, and we did our first one in Morocco, and we sold out before the event was formally, we actually held the event. And then we had a waiting list, and we are like, okay, so this is actually a thing. People actually would love to learn with us and from us. And we took that really personally, because we realized that people were entrusting us. And so for us, social media influencing is not about the veracity of your voice. It's really in the ability to caretake a community
Hmm.
and to really build trust in those that are listening to you. And in retrospectively, you should be able to listen to them as well.
Okay. I don't know how much. I definitely think I'd have 30 minutes on this, so I'm gonna just move around some questions
Perfect.
to get to
Great.
it.
I'll try to be more concrete and
Yeah.
short.
No, you're good. So basically, let's go to the question: what are your likes and dislikes in traveling?
Likes, dislikes. Uh, Likes are food culture, food and drink, and conversations with locals. Dislikes are whenever you go to a destination and your trust might be destroyed by that one local that takes advantage of you.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen very often to us, but I think that is one thing that I dislike about traveling. And I also don't like the rush of the airport. I prefer train travel, but it's not always accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next thing is, how do you actually, let's go to the other one. I want to ask the black traveling question. Is, as a black traveler, do you sometimes come across a few like hardships with sometimes like locals or traveling wise?
That's been very rare, honestly. There's a good friend of mine, and ours, if I'm honest, and ours, that he's also been in the travel blogger game for quite some time, as a content creator, professional photographer. His name is Eric Prince. Minority Nomad is his platform. And he says that, being Black is his superpower. And, and excuse me, in many respects, I feel that. I'm not saying that I have not had negative experiences, but I definitely feel that being a woman of color has given me access to communities, conversations, and opportunities that I would not ever have if I was not who I am. So I often choose to focus on the positives of it versus, I'm not saying that traveling while Black is not a thing. Stuff happens, shit
Yeah.
happens all the time traveling while Black.
Yeah.
But I also like to, it's so, it's funny, I just don't remember those things as much as
Yeah.
all the other amazing positive things that have happened from being a woman of color traveling.
And I totally agree. Like, I even going to Eastern Europe and stuff. We stayed in Miskolc, Hungary, because we were gonna go to Budapest. And Miskolc is like a border away from Ukraine. It was only
Yeah.
like 30 minutes. So it was like, it's awkward. But I was like the only person with color in the city. And it was like the poor, and I was like, oh boy. But like I always taught myself because I always was born and raised how to be outside of your own comfort zone. Like I was raised to be outside of my environment, and I went to a school in West Virginia, especially outside of my environment.
Yeah.
And I just got used to it. And traveling as a person, only person with color, I just got used to it to a point like I don't see color. So when I go travel, I see people like, they would just see the light out of me and stuff. Like, don't judge a book by its cover. You know what I mean? So that's like, I always saw like as the benefits. I really didn't have any hardship. I was lucked out the whole time traveling all these countries. And like you'll pop in with here and there people with questions, but
Yeah.
I mean, the locals at the end of the day, they're happy to see us. I feel like, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah. And when you visit every country, what kind of sightseeing do you usually do with your husband? Like, you guys do like museums, downtown, entertainment shows, hiking, historical landmarks, or like palaces and fortress?
When we first traveled, we did a lot of museums, but after a while, like museums and churches and stuff, and after a while, like it
Yeah.
just started to blend, especially in Europe, traveling in
Yeah.
Europe
Yeah.
specifically. Going to other countries, like in the Middle East, is quite a different experience. However, I found that going to certain museums in certain countries sometimes doesn't have the appeal to other countries. Regardless, it's for us, we have to keep it fresh, so we try new things. We love immersive experiences. So that's what we invest into. And sometimes if it's a client trip, because a lot of I would say 90% of our traveling in the last 4 years has been client based, either commission for a magazine or a, private contract to create content for a brand or destination. Um, it, funny enough is that we of course we have to stick to their itinerary, but I feel like we've been really fortunate to luck out on experiences that have just been really incredible. Like I remember being in Luxembourg and doing a hiking wine tasting experience.
Wow.
So it was like strenuous, but like every terrace that you kind of hike to was a different wine tasting with some different like nibbles and stuff. And it was just incredible, views over the region of Marseille and, stuff like that. And we love like soft adventure type of activities. So get a little bit of physical activity along with like a food culture type of experience. Like we love hiking, so that's something we do every year. We go to Austria. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen this summer, but we go every summer and we do a pretty intensive few days of hiking through the Alps, and where we go to different huts, and we're trying different food and drink and stuff like that. We look for events with chefs, or just or cooking classes, stuff like that. So we love that kind of homegrown, experiential type of experience.
That's amazing. I miss hiking too. Like I keep posting on Instagram, like I can't wait when it lets back up. They
Oh
close
my
all
goodness.
the parks and everything. I'm gonna go to the COVID-19. So I don't know how much time we have. Like at least I think 8 minutes left.
Okay.
The big question is, it was gonna be like the COVID-19. Do you think like once the COVID-19 lifts back up, like traveling and everything, do you think it's gonna take a little bit of everyone who's a traveler? Like once there hopefully is a vaccine by then, do you feel like as people are gonna like go so fast back to traveling, or do you think you're gonna take a couple time, let time go in like a couple months and then go back to traveling?
Do you think for us personally, or do
Yeah,
you think?
like personal travelers and everything is like pretty much world travelers and social media influencers who travel. do you think you're gonna have, like, give a couple months of traveling of the COVID-19 and then go back to travel,
Yeah.
like, pretty much let the countries basically go back to normal for a little bit and then go back to traveling? 'Cause some people
Yeah.
usually are gonna rush back in.
Some people are going to, we have friends that we know, for colleagues, that they are like, they're watching it with like bated breath, being like, oh, as soon as it opens up, we're going to go off. But the thing is, there's going to be a lot of repercussions from that mentality as well,
Mhm.
because you're going to be kind of in this rush, kind of when COVID first happened and people were like, oh, I got to, they're saying, get back to your country, come back. And you were trying to figure out, can I get back? And people were getting stuck, and there's this and there's that. We're going to see some growing pains, because there's
Yeah.
going to be countries that then open up, and then they're going to see a spike in cases. And this is just, just observations, experts I've talked to, in the last couple weeks, that they've been, had their ear to the ground, really watching the situation. A friend of mine is an epidemiologist that works with the uh, embassy, Canadian embassy here in London, and she's like has her ear to the ground for all of this stuff. And she's a world traveler, so we're always talking about this. And so she's just talking about how, like, what's going on in Canada, and what the agreement that they might have with the UK. And so these countries are going to have different agreements with each other to allow movement of tourists. But what's going to happen is that, in the beginning, there might be, 14-day quarantine. Imagine,
Yeah.
you want to go on a city break, to Austria or to Salzburg or something.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be in quarantine for 14 days. Does that sound, appealing to go? So we're going to be kind of negotiating a new space of traveling. For us, our own household, we've done so much traveling in the last 4 years. We're okay to be patient. And it
Yeah.
hurts, because this is our job. This is my full-time income. And so it has really hit us, me personally. And it is difficult, but, I don't want to take chances, one, with my own personal health. Two, I also want to make sure that I'm setting the right example, when it comes to our community, and showing responsible travel.
Yeah, I totally agree. So going back to, I want to go back to spin-off with media. Since you said you experience in graphic design and like all social media influencing, what kind of like media software do you usually use? Like editing kind of systems and
Video, use Final Cut Pro, and Adobe Premiere Rush. So that's anytime we're doing anything on desktop or laptop. And then also like Lightroom to do all the, photo editing, and then Photoshop for like fine tuning specific editing. Like if we have a client that's like, you need to tweak that color, or you need to, remove this or remove that, I'll be using Photoshop for that. um, I don't really use too much like InDesign anymore, because we have Canva. So
yeah,
Canva is like, it's
that's
so
what I
easy,
use as well.
and it's so, yeah, it's, I know that they have like loads of different templates, and you can get caught out using, similar templates to what people are doing. But I just say, the more you use it, the better you get at it, and the more unique, your design skill set can get. And then I always tell people, keep pouring over different influences, so that your influences are fresh, and you're not just sticking to the Canva library for, ideas for designs. And on the phone, we do so much content creation on the phone. So if it's editing, it's a mix of Premiere Rush for video, and InShot on video as well. And yeah, then a host of other stuff, like, for instance, because we do a lot of brand work for like Instagram stories and stuff. So we might be using Insta Story, we might be using Unfold. Um, and then there's like loads of other ones that we might use. Adobe Spark is another good one, and Legend. So, and then all the other small like little apps where you might have to extract
Yeah.
audio from video, or speed something up, or create a GIF. There's like GIF Maker. We do a lot of GIFs creations. So yeah, loads and loads of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I usually I have Final Cut Pro, and then I have like back home I have like InDesign, the Premiere. I never touched Premiere, but everyone in school, like my college, we didn't have focus on that. Like no one really taught us how to video editing. I knew it in high school, so I brought it, the whole system, and I was like, very expensive, but just a great investment to put in because when I worked at these media jobs to now, like it's like kind of weird because I was supposed to work in sports after graduation, but now it's a big they called me and everything, so it's gonna be a while for me. So right now I'm like applying for jobs. Even though I'm finishing school, I'm just like knocking it out. Because
Yes,
like
good.
honestly, and then like allowing this is just gonna help me on my portfolio because I do
Yeah,
documentaries, I do this, and I want to interview. I thought an idea of doing this interview because I said I want to create an idea of traveling because I love to travel. I want to do a senior project on video, but also talk to people who experience traveling, been over the world, and especially COVID-19. This is a perfect time to talk to people, and it's like, what are your thoughts off of this?
100%.
And it said usually it's 40 minutes, but it said 30 minutes, but it's not even telling me the time. So I'm just gonna go for a next question. We get cut off, like those are the main questions I wanted to go.
Okay.
And I appreciate I will text you, right? If we get cut off, I will just text you saying thank you.
Right.
Appreciate it. I just want to say I appreciate for doing this interview. Thank you.
Oh, it's
Um
no worries at all.
um when so did I ask you the question, how do you guys usually book your trips? No, I didn't. Because the question is, how do you guys book your trips? Do you usually use travel agencies, Trivago, Expedia,
Um,
Airbnbs?
so like I had mentioned before, I would say 90% of our travel in the last 4 years has been for clients or commission for magazines that we write for, but and so that means that it's all handled internally. So they deal
Yeah,
with airplane bookings, rental car, hotels, everything. So we don't have to really deal with much outside of getting ourselves to and from the airport.
yeah,
Um, but when we do our personal travel, which we try to do throughout the year, here and there, is we never use travel agents. We haven't used travel agents probably since 2015 and 14, actually, I think, to book our honeymoon. And so that's been a while since we used a travel agent. But we'll use these booking portals to check prices. We begin to move away from like booking all of our hotels on aggregator sites, and we try to go directly to the hotel because especially if it's like a luxury boutique hotel or something smaller, we like to kind of go directly to them because one, they offer a lot more incentives. Two, the money is going to them and not just the booking platform. There's nothing wrong with booking platforms, and I think it's great for especially if you're going to like a bigger hotel. But if you want to really support small businesses, then just go directly to the hotel.
and sorry. So basically, when you guys travel, do you usually travel like during a particular season that you prefer, like fall, winter, spring, or summer? I like to travel in the fall because it's like not a lot of kids are out, so it depends on where you go. But like especially in Europe, I loved how the fall settings fall into it, and just right before winter time, like Christmas markets are usually early than like in America.
Yeah, great question. For us, it's shoulder season. So tending to travel between, we do a lot of travel. Um, I would say March, April through early June. And then we don't travel as much during the summer. We do, but because we travel year round, but not as much during the summer. And then we start back up again late September. And then we tend to be gone on the road for a good 6 to 8 weeks, and then back to London for the holidays for the most part. So that tends to be our travel schedule. But of course, that's all now changed since COVID-19.
Yeah.
So it can be interesting.
And when you usually travel, what do you usually pack with you?
Um, like to go light. I'm team carry on all the way. So take us learned over the years not to overpack. So taking things that are quite multi-purpose that can be layered up, especially like if it gets a bit cooler at night. So making sure I like to take accessories to make outfits go a lot further. And because we tend to have to shoot in destinations, imagery where we're both in it, like type of lifestyle imagery, we do have to really plan wardrobe and stuff, which sometimes is a bit irritating, but it's just the nature of the clients that we have. So yeah, it's kind of a mix of things. If we know we're going to have something active, then we make sure like it's really easy to pack, active clothes. But then if you have to bring a pair of hiking boots, it's going to take up quite a bit of space.
Yeah,
So it must be that you wear your hiking boots on the plane, and then you have a little bit more space in your bag, to throw an extra pair of trainers, or a cute pair of wedges in there or something like that for the nighttime thing. It's the shoes that take a lot of space. So I definitely try to pack
totally agree
less
with
shoes.
that. I
Yeah,
totally
then I
agree.
can go a bit further on the outfits.
Yeah. Well, answered actually we answered all my questions I had listed. They were just all
Oh,
mixed around. So that's why I was like looking back and forth at the same time. You answered every single point of the questions I had listed. So pretty much we're like very much done. But I want to thank you, Yolanda, for doing this interview with me and especially helping me out for my project and stuff. I wish you guys the best during this COVID-19.
same.
I can't
Stay
wait to see more of your guys like traveling experience and stuff. Like I can't wait after this lifts up. Like hopefully I get a job and like create media
yes.
stuff. Cause it's like, and I tell people I'm a go getter. Like I'm like pretty quick. Like a lot of people always tell me like you always have a creative and like even with sports. Like I had a friend who works in all the sports teams in New York, and she was like we had a lunch and like she's a publicist, and she worked with a whole bunch of athletes. She was like telling you're only 21. Like yeah, I know, and I'm about to turn 22 on Saturday. I keep forgetting I'm turning
Yeah.
22. But like I feel like I've been 21 and everyone calls me the young buck because I have friends who are like 26 and 25 and 24
Right.
already like established their lives, and there's me in Jersey living with my parents.
Hey, girl, please. I moved. Let's see. I did my thing. Went to school. Had a place, and then I moved back